Hello, my podcast people, and thank you for joining me for yet another episode of my favorite podcast. If you're listening, tuning in, watching in, I always fuck that up, and that's my own intro. If you're here with us, with me, when I say us, it's me and Rupert. On the day that it drops, it is Monday, May 19th. Welcome to the back half of May. Today, we're talking about what to do after that first launch. Do you build something new? Do you run the same thing? Do you change the offer? Now, don't get me wrong. The world is still on fire. I'm still very much thinking about that. But people are still running their businesses. And I'm not saying, but they're still running their businesses. And they're still running their businesses. People got questions. And I got answers. So this episode is inspired by an email response from one of my Maestro mail homies. So if that's you listening to this, thank you. But first up, real quick, you know the drill. We'll do a little life and biz and life updates, and then we'll hop on in because this one is a little bit more, I don't want to say in depth, but there's a little bit more to this. So I do want to hop into it. I do want to get to it and kind of just prepping you for what's to come. So the biz, the life updates. I decided to run the podcast workshop. It's funny. I had 2 or 3 episodes ago. I was like thinking about it, and then literally after I was done recording the episode, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to host it. Because I had people online on Instagram and such say they wanted it. It was like that sound clip from TikTok from like a million years ago. I was like, I'm not going to do it, girl. I'm not going to do it. I did it. Literally, that was me. Me. I have no idea how the workshop went because it hasn't happened yet. At the time that I'm recording this, it hasn't happened yet. It's actually going down this Thursday. So I'll update you next week about how it went, but I'm going to say it went amazing. Weather-wise, we got a taste of summer last weekend, which was nice, and also stopped all the locals from complaining about May Gray. Happens every fucking year, people. If you listen to this and you're a local, you know. It happens every year. Let's not complain. We already know. This past weekend, we also went and got to support our friend Gemma. She had a skating recital. Which is really cool because Gemma is a grown-ass woman. There was like a bunch of they're like 6 to 11-year-olds. They were like kids. There was 2 teenagers, and then there was Gemma. And it was really fucking cool to me. Last year, Gemma said that she thought she was going to get back into skating. She skated growing up, so this wasn't like a brand new thing. But she was like, I think I'm going to get back into it. And then, lo and behold, she has a recital, and it wasn't like she didn't sometimes people do stuff and they don't really want people to come, so they don't really talk about it. But she, put it in the group that we have, the group chat that we have, and a bunch of us showed up. And it was just really awesome. It feels really good to support your people doing shit they're excited about and just seeing them be happy. And it was just really, really fucking cool. So got to do that. But circling back to today's topic, and this does tie into the business and life stuff. Today's topic is that idea of like what to do next. And y'all know for the past however many episodes, I'm like, what do I want to do next? I'm over my traditional stuff. What do I want to do? And I've been experimenting a ton and working a ton with ChatGPT. I use it pretty much every single day. Like I moved ChatGPT, the icon, to the navigation bar of my phone. I got rid of the phone icon. I don't fucking use it. I don't call anybody. I don't even Google anything anymore. I just put it in ChatGPT because it connects to the internet. So, and then you can say exclude fucking Amazon. I don't want any search results from Amazon. So I'm just using ChatGPT for everything, but I am loving it. Right? I am fucking loving it, and I'm loving the possibilities. I'm excited about the possibilities, and I am forecasting and projecting that this will be the thing that I really dive into next. As it relates to the business side of things. Like obviously I always do things myself first. And then it's about me teaching others. So I'll be doing it with my mafia first, but I have a hunch that this is where the business will go in terms of what I want to teach people and help them with. There's just so many possibilities, and it really ties in super well with my whole shtick of keeping your team lean and doing your stuff yourself, because now you literally can, and you can learn it and you can do it and implement it, and just, it's so good. So stay tuned for more about that. If you're interested in in me putting something out, it will likely be a workshop, something like that. I don't know. I will do something with it. It might not be for months. I don't know, but I will do something with it. If you're interested in that, I'll put a wait list on in the show notes. Thank you, JoJo, who's back. Thank you, Courtney, who's never left. She just always around. She's the best. But I'll put an interest list, sign up. And that is actually a really good segue into the full episode, because it's clearly not my first time launching something, but I want to talk about what's the next step after your first launch. And this idea of what comes next and what you should be focusing on. And one of those things is this idea of corralled attention. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is this idea of an interest list or a wait list. So like I said earlier, the question came from a dope Maestro male homie who wrote to me and said that she had done my Instagram business blueprint course. She now has over 100,000 followers. What? Okay. And then she did her first launch and it was a $10,000 launch. And now she's wondering what next. So a few things. Number one, I will link that course. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Joe. If you want to check it out, of course, actual mileage may vary. I'm not going to promise you that you're going to have over 100,000 followers. If I could promise that, I would have over 100,000 followers. But you can check it out, Instagram course. 2, shout out, or I should say 1B, shout out to that person. You know who you are. Fuck yeah, it's fucking awesome. Number 2, her question was rooted in how do I make this a long-term and sustainable, viable thing, right? It's process oriented, not how do I scale and focus on the vanity metrics, which is outcome focused. I just really loved the question. And 3, her question actually wasn't a question at all. It wasn't an ask at all. She actually responded to an email that I sent out about a predator in the park. If you're not on my email list, you should join. And I included 2 resources, one from Dr. Jackie Fenton and one from Erica Mayal about trust circles and how to talk to your kids about tricky people. Those 2 had sent me those resources and I was like, here, other parents reading this, here, these may be helpful. We will link those, of course. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Erica. But this person thanked me for the resources and then that was the focus. She was like, I've been wondering how to talk to my daughter about tricky people. So thank you. And then she was like, and by the way, I bought this course, I took the course and I took it like a year ago and now I have all of this success and I'm wondering what to do next. And she said, it's like one simple line. If I had any other resources about what to do next, she would buy them. There was no question, like, what do you have? She was like, if you have it, I'd buy it. And I'm like, you're amazing. I wrote back to her and asked her what kind of resource would be helpful. And the information that I'm going to talk about in this episode came from that question, right? I'm going to zoom out right now and to make it meta in 2 parts. One, this is how I like to have people interact with me, right? I do believe we teach people how to interact with us and how to treat us. And I want to highlight that interaction and how kind she was and how gracious she was and grateful she was. And there wasn't an ask. It wasn't like an expectation of like, make this for me or like, tell me these things. It was literally like, thank you. If you have it, I'll buy it. Like, that's a fucking amazing. And yes, that's what makes me want to reach out. And, I say that makes me, but that's going to make anyone want to reach out and be like, hey, how can I help you? All right. So all of those things will be in the show notes, the resources and such. But the second part of making this meta is when we go to think about what to do next and what to offer, that's very much grounded and rooted in listening and asking and listening. So the person's question, verbatim, how to make online education a full-time career that's sustainable for my family and me. Like, what's the next step? Make more courses or focus on this one that I'm making it better and getting better at sales? What works? Cohorts? Memberships? I know you don't advise those. Shout out to this person because she be fucking listening. You're amazing. Something else? What doesn't work? Is it time to expand beyond Instagram? If so, where's the best use of my time/energy? YouTube, Substack? And again, she wasn't expecting an answer. I was like, tell me everything. What would be helpful in this, course that you would make? She wasn't saying like, tell me these things, right? So I wrote back, big thank you for the feedback. Full transparency, this is something that realistically is better for one-on-one feedback, not so much for a workshop. It definitely has my wheels going and I'm going to keep thinking on it. But what an individual should focus on next is largely, individual. Individual factors being things like personal preference, audience size, specifics of the offer, demand for the offer, personal capacity, goals, etc. You see where I'm going here. My suggestion would be to launch it again. All right. If it ain't broke, ... Yeah, don't fix it. Either way, I'll definitely think on it and perhaps put out a podcast episode in the interim. Here I am. Podcast episode. Again, big thank you for the feedback. Super helpful. Right? So all that to say, there is no universal next step, clearly, but I do want to share some generalizations and thoughts to help you, the viewer, the listener, figure out what you might want to try next. Right? I would also be a terrible business owner if I didn't plug my own services for those who are looking for or are ready for or prefer that one-to-one option. It is called a Maestro meeting. I've had them for years. It's a 60-minute deep dive session. In this case, we would identify what to do and fully plan out literally every step of what to do next, given your specific circumstances, what you just launched, all your preferences, things like that. It's $497. You book directly. You don't need to talk to me beforehand or anything like that. We will link that in the show notes. There is a whole page about, the questions you can ask. It's about the whole format of everything. There's an information page, and then you can book on that page. So we will link that in the show notes. There's no discovery call or anything before that. You either want it or you don't. I can help you. Okay, I've done it a zillion times. So as it relates to the advice that I would give, this just general advice, I think there's two roads, right? Or rather, I'm going to group it into two roads or two categories. Either you launched it and it was successful, right? Whatever success means to you, or you launched it and it wasn't successful, right? I'm going to go ahead and assume that you liked what you launched, right? All the individual factors and capacities like that, that's outside the scope of this podcast episode. I just don't have enough time, right? But I'm going to assume that you liked the offer and you would run it again. You'd be willing to run it again, right? So let's talk about next steps for these two different categories. You decide which one you fall into. If you launched it and it was successful, then do it again. Launch it again, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? We as online business owners, we're always looking to create familiarity around our offers. And we're ultimately looking to create what we call a signature offer, that one thing that you are known for, right? So for me, it's the Instagram intensive. And yes, I am looking to switch that and evolve from that. But when people talk about me, it's Instagram intensive. Lex is SEO school. Jill is FBA. What is that one thing? Anna is the LTAP, right? What is that thing that you are known for? And you want to be able to launch that thing over and over and over and over again. That creates familiarity, but from the consumer, right? But from our end, right, it creates predictability. It creates ease as well, because it's the same assets. We already made it. Now we already made all the promotional stuff around it. We can just plug and play and I almost said reduce, reuse, recycle, but we can recycle those things, those assets, and just keep using them. Right? So if you launched and it was successful, my suggestion, launch it again. Expectation management wise, I want you to understand that the second launch is always harder and never as big as the first, right? Because your early adopters are gone. They've already bought the thing, right? Again, I am assuming that you liked your first offer and you want to run it again. If, however, there is something about it that you didn't like or something that you want to change, whether it's the price, the length, the format, whatever, change that, right? If you have things to improve with the messaging, meaning you're hey, I have testimonials now, or I'm clearer on what I can promise and deliver in this thing, change that as well. But you're going to still launch it again. And I want you to launch it the same way that you did last time. But now you're going to actually note the sales mechanism, because the goal is to get some data and then to be able to systematize it and create that predictability and repeatability with this, right? So 3 things that I want you to ask yourself and to note. Number 1, how long did you launch? So you can think about it last time, but now I also want you to set that parameter for this time. I'm going to sell for 2 weeks. I'm going to promote it for 3 weeks, but I'm going to have the cart open for 1 week. Folks, you do not need to sell for that fucking long. Again, outside the actual launch is outside of the scope of this episode. It's just not enough time. But suffice to say that when you're doing a public facing launch, you don't need to be selling for more than a week. Talk about it for 3 weeks, but the actual purchase time frame, a week is fine for the public. Or you can have a week for the wait list, a week for the public, that's fine. All right, so I want you to note how long you did it last time. If you don't remember, then that's fine. But I want you to decide on how long you want to do it this time. All right, how long you're going to talk about it, how long you're actually going to sell for, right? How long will that offer be available? The next thing to ask yourself is, how did you launch? Did you just talk about it on Instagram? Did you talk about it on your podcast? You have a podcast? Did you promote it on your on your email list? How did you actually launch it? And then decide how you're going to do it this time. You're going to do daily posts, get as much data around it as you can. And you daily posts, you're going to do stories. And ideally, you kind of track it as you go. You can go in with a game plan, but you can also track it as you go and be I did, 3 podcast episodes. I did 4 promotional posts for it. I sent out an email to my list. Just write down what you do for it. And then the third question is, did you have corralled attention? This means, did you get people to raise their hands and express interest before you sold it? The way that we do this is via usually one of two methods. Or you could use both, which is a waitlist or a lead magnet, right? A lead magnet would be something like a challenge or a webinar or workshop that you sell into this full offer. The goal here is to have set parameters so that you have data to look at the next time, right? If you want predictability, right, and the best way to identify what to tweak the next launch, your best bet is to actually focus on and implement question number 3, which is that corralled attention, meaning having a wait list or a lead magnet. If you are like, I didn't do one last time, I don't want to do one this time, I just want to talk about it on social, I just want to talk about it to my emails, that's fine. But there's very little predictability with that because you're just kind of putting it out there to everybody and just kind of hoping for the best. Again, I'm fine with that so long as you go into it understanding I don't have expectation, I don't have predictability with this. And I'm just collecting data, right? I'm just going to see how long I launched, how many posts I did, how many emails, how long did I talk about it, how long was the cart open, and collecting those data parameters. And then we can look to debrief that, assess that, and then iterate on that for the next launch. Right? I slid and slipped in there. I slid in there that if you want predictability, the best way to do that is to identify what to focus on with your next launch. And the best way to do that is to focus on having that corralled attention. I know as I'm talking, I know that this is oh, wow, there's a lot going on here. I know. This is why I said it's largely better for a one-on-one call. But you can listen to this as many times as you want. Right? The goal with creating predictability and being able to say, hey, I can anticipate I will get X number of sales is to have corralled attention. It's to have a group of people that you're selling to that have expressed interest in this offer or expressed interest in the offer that comes before this offer, right? That would be the lead magnet. The way that this creates predictability is that wait lists typically convert at 10 to 15%, meaning if there are 100 people on the wait list, which is a big wait list, you could expect that about 10 to 15 of those people would actually buy. Not all 100, because people are people. If you have a lead magnet, a timely lead magnet, so you have a challenge or you have a workshop that then sells into this full offer, those typically convert around 5 to 10%. So if you have 100 people that sign up for this workshop, and then you're going to pitch this offer at the end, you can expect that about 5 to 10% of them will purchase. So what you do is you run these things, and then you look at the numbers. If your conversion rate is within those percentages, you're good. You just do it again. You change nothing. You just need to keep getting people either into the lead magnet or onto the wait list, or both if you're doing both. If you are below those conversion rates, then that means you need to work on your messaging. Okay, so you see, I can continue with more of this and more, go down the rabbit hole even more, but as a top level thing to think about, what do I do next? If you had success and you liked it, you're going to do it again. I want you to launch it the same way, but I want you to collect some data this time. I want you to say how long you're going to launch. I want you to say how you're going to launch. Right? How long, meaning how long is the cart open? How long are you promoting it? How are you going to actually promote it? Are you just talking about email, talking about it on Instagram? Or you have a podcast, email? How are you promoting it? And again, what's the data around it? How's the frequency? The third thing is, did you have corralled attention? So you could just say, no, I didn't have it last time. I didn't have a wait list and I didn't have a lead magnet, and that's fine. And you could say, I don't want to do it on this time. Totally fine. There's no expectation management around that. You want to change it, then this time you say, I'm either going to do a wait list or I'm going to do a lead magnet, or both. I would suggest just one. And then we run it, we sell, and we look to see what those conversion rates are. If we convert within, we're good. We just, for the third time we launch it, do the same thing. If we run it, launch it, we don't hit those numbers, then we know that we need to work on our messaging for the next launch. If, by the grace of God, by the grace of the goddesses, you convert above the numbers, it's typically your first launch. Congrats. Amazing. Good luck doing it again, right? Try, and don't change anything, try to do it again, but expect it to fall within those numbers the next time, okay? The next category here, the second category, is if you launched and it wasn't successful, what do you do? right? And this is like, I launched, no one really bought it. Usually when it's not a success, to me, it's like no one bought this thing. One person, that's still a success. No one? Okay. Well, I want you to ask yourself the same 3 questions. But this time, realistically, all you're going to focus on is question number 3, which was that corralled attention. Did you have corralled attention? Right? Yes or no? And then you are going to focus this time on getting that corralled attention. Why? Because you need to assess demand. You can either do this by a wait list or a lead magnet or both. I would suggest just doing one. The way that I teach selling is through a wait list. I don't like running lead magnets. It's Jill's shit. She is so fucking good at it. That's what we talk about in Legacy. It's not how I prefer to sell though. So I'm going to go with the wait list method. You get to choose. Right? But either way, you need this corralled attention. You need people to raise their hand and say, yes, I am interested in this. This will tell you if you should launch it at all. If you get no one on the wait list, you don't sell it. No one's going to buy it. There's no interest for this thing. Yes, you could be some pushback and be like, well, some things don't, warrant a wait list. This is true. And again, this is why I said the best answer I could give you would be with a one-on-one. But my answer that's going to, cover the majority of you listening to this or watching this is that if you put out an interest list and you're promoting that interest list for at least 3 weeks, if no one's on it, you should not run the full thing. You should not launch the full thing. No one's going to buy it. Okay. The other way you can look for corralled attention, and this is what I would do if the offer that I have doesn't warrant a wait list. Like something like a workshop doesn't really warrant a wait list. Like you don't need one. You could just promote it and sell it. If you're like, hey, I might make it in the future, then yeah, you're like put them on an interest list. But if you're like, I know I'm making this thing, like it doesn't need a wait list, you just sell it. But if you're like, hey, this thing that I want to sell again doesn't warrant a wait list, cool. Then go into your stories, go into your email and ask people if they want it. Give them the specifics and say, do you want this thing? Would it be helpful for you? Would you buy it? If no one says yes, do not make it. Very simple. Very simple. If you get people saying yes, I would say guesstimate that about 10% of those yeses would actually buy, and then think to yourself, would it be worth it for me to run this? Okay. If you decide to run a lead magnet that sells into the full offer, right? If no one signs up for your lead magnet, don't expect any sales of the full offer. If only a few people sign up for, and when I say few, if like 5 people sign up for your lead magnet, that's awesome. But understand that we're thinking that, we know that lead magnets convert at about 5 to 10%, right? And 5% of 5 people is not one whole human, right? You need that 5% to be equal to one whole human in order to be like, okay, yeah, enough people have signed up for this lead magnet, for this data to be helpful for me, right? So understand the math around that. The whole thing I want you to take away from, the main thing I want you to take away from this is that if there's no demand, don't run it. Don't launch it, right? This doesn't need to be a guessing game. If you're like, man, no one's signing up for this, no one is signing up for the wait list, no one's signing up for the lead magnet, no one in my story said that they wanted this, okay, then what we do is we continue putting out more content, right? We see what gets traction. We think about what an offer would be based on what's getting traction, right? In my case, it was podcast stuff. People were asking me stuff about that. I'm like, all right, let me put out this thing and see, would you want a podcast workshop? Yes. Okay, cool. I'm going to run it. Okay. So we put out content, see what gets traction, think of an offer, ask if people want the offer. They say, yes, cool. Then we go ahead and we run it. Right? This will all give you data about what to change, what to do moving forward. Meaning you running the things, you answering those questions will give you data about what to be doing. Okay. So yes, there are other factors to consider with this, but given that this is a podcast episode, that's all it is. It's a single podcast episode, and I'm giving general advice or generalized advice. This is what I'm saying here is going to, my belief, will capture the most number of use cases. The second part, or the next part of that person's question was, what doesn't work? And this is honestly largely dependent on the audience, aka the niche, and the offer, right? Because I can't say specifically what doesn't work, because theoretically it can all work, right? That is really needs specific parameters given to me. What's your niche? What is the actual offer? What's going on in the world, in the United States, for me to tell you like, yeah, that's the best thing or not. But again, if you've launched this thing, it worked, do that again before you worry about changing anything. But I will always advise against memberships, and I have a membership, right? But we will link that episode. I did a whole episode about why you shouldn't start an episode. Why you shouldn't start an episode. Why you shouldn't start a podcast. Wow. Having a moment. Why you shouldn't start a membership. I did a whole episode on that. So thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Joe, for linking that. They are difficult to get people into. And if you only have a super, super small number of people, like it may not feel quote unquote worth it for you to have it going. Right? So the rest of this person's question was, is it time to expand beyond Instagram? If so, where's the best use of my time / energy? YouTube, Substack. Number one, check out my episode I just dropped 3 episodes ago about Substacks. Spoiler, no, don't join that. My first answer when someone asks us, is it time to expand? Should I expand? Where should I go? Is always going to be, first, diversify how you reach and teach your people, not where you reach and teach your people. Okay. So how? The first thing most people start off with is going to be something like Instagram or TikTok, right? That's short form audio visual. Cool. The next thing that most people go into is going to be long form written, and that's going to be email, which can then go into blogging. After that, we see people go into long form audio, which is going to be a podcast. Then after they have all that, put together, then they can consider other social media platforms, right? But this person has so many followers on Instagram. No, you don't need to be worrying about a different social media platform. Right? I want your social dialed in. When I say dialed in, meaning like you are consistent with it, and you're just like, yeah, this is part of my day. I post, I get this stuff done. I want Instagram, your social media dialed in. I want email dialed in, and then. Usually for most people, I'm going to suggest, not for all, but for many people, I would suggest a podcast. Some people, YouTube, but YouTube is a heavy lift. Video is a heavy lift. I spent like a half an hour before you started recording this, just trying to get the lighting right, because it's the middle of the day, which is like the worst time based on my windows and I don't even like the lighting that much, but so sorry if you're watching this. Video is a heavy lift, right? YouTube is a heavy lift. And it's a long play game. I will direct many people into a podcast first, which is why I put out that podcast workshop. But I want you super dialed in, super consistent with those things first before you look at a different platform. And then once you're ready to look at if those are dialed in and you're like, yeah, I'm good. Then I'm going to say, what's your strength? What's your preference? What's your capacity? And for some people, that would be really going, into YouTube and longer form video. They like that. Amazing. For some people, maybe it's blogging. And especially if they have a brick and mortar, I'm going to tell you to blog earlier because the SEO, and this is Lex's stuff, is going to be helpful for getting customers. But if you're an online business, then maybe that becomes your thing because you're like really into writing. I don't know. It depends on your preference and your capacity. Right? I do have another episode you can check out. It's episode 634. That's how I create content for different platforms. And I kind of talk about this a little bit more and go a little bit more depth with it. Right? But wrapping it up, I'm looking at the time, wrapping it up, I know this was a bit denser of an episode, which is why, hopefully you see why I said one-to-one is the most appropriate next step for people. But from a generalized advice approach, what is the next step after your first launch? It depends on how that launch went. If it went well, do it again and focus on the things I mentioned earlier, ultimately looking to create that predictability and repeatability. If it didn't go well, then we're going to look to create that corral the tension and assess demand. If demand isn't there, we don't launch. We put out content, we see what's getting traction, we think about what a good offer might be, we pose that to the people, we ask them, then we listen and we say, okay, based on this, yeah, it makes sense to run it, and then we launch it, okay? Again, if you want help with this, I'd like to help you. Schedule a Maestro meeting. If you don't need help, amazing. If you can take this episode and remember, folks, we have transcripts. Courtney puts them up there. Thank you, Courtney, for everything. So if you want to sit with it on your own, like this is why I do this, so that you have the ability to go and work on this without having to, invest $1 zillion and be able to do things on your own. So if you can do it on your own, amazing. If you're like, hey, no, I want help with this, cool. I like this shit. I would love to help you. Schedule a Maestro meeting. I've done it a zillion times. And yes, I will be able to help you organize and strategize and decide what to do next. Right? And for some folks, I've done it before, that may be straight up telling them, do not launch this. It flopped before, it will flop again because you don't have the audience, you don't have the demand. It's the wrong offer. Okay? We're not out here guessing about how things are going to go. If you listen to the episodes I've done with Jill, when we're launching Legacy, we talk about this, that online business is predictable. It's not this hugely like, I don't know what's happening ever. I never know what's going to go on. That's not the case. So I know, denser episode, go and re-listen, go check out the, what is it called? The transcript. Hit me up if you got questions. Schedule a Maestro meeting if it seems like it would be a good fit. All right? All right. That is all I got for you. As always, endlessly appreciative for every single one of you. And today's episode, especially grateful for you, you know who you are, who submitted that question. Okay? If you got questions, go ahead, hit me up. I'll make episodes about them. All right. Officially going to wrap it up here. Until next time, friends. Maestro out.